Gambians put hands together so that the country can move forward.
President Barrow assured them of his government's resolve to initiate reforms that will make it easier to travel and move goods and services. This has been singled out as the biggest challenge faced by the diaspora, many of whom are eager to start businesses back home. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Gambians' European partners to resolve some of the problems faced by Gambians in Europe. These reassurances from the President and Foreign Minister Dabo was all that these people wanted to hear, and many of them were prepared to take the challenge.
We are very much grateful to hear that he is in support of business, and inshallah we will come back to Gambia and invest as Gambian citizens. And also we will thank him for speaking on behalf of us and for him being so grateful to us. So we will also contribute and support him as a Gambian.
If we have a president that has the Gambia at heart and have the Gambian people at heart, then we should be very, very happy with him, and then we should also help him.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the speech, especially that of Dabo, when he called for unity and the diaspora. He actually acknowledged their contribution and then asked us to be agents of unity, not agents of division.
For once, the government and the diaspora in France stood united, with each embracing the other as a partner in national development, hoping that this rare meeting will motivate all Gambians to put the past behind and forge ahead as one people and one nation. Mamadou Diallo, GRTS News.
Anglers from the Gambia, the United Kingdom and the Netherlands are competing in the 4th edition of the beach casting. The anglers are contesting for the biggest and most spectacular catch in the annual fishing boat that looks to attract high-end tourism on the Smiling Coast. Our Ibrahim Jatta tells us more.
And plentiful fish breeds. It's now established tradition for sport anglers around the world to convene every year in the Gambia for amusing fishing expeditions pitting angling teams in stiff competition that lasts for a week. The quest is simple. Who catches the biggest and heaviest fish emerges winner in an action-packed event that officials are advancing to promote sport fishing on the Smiling Coast. This year's competition at the exciting Atlantic Seaboard explores 4 venues, which include the mesmeric Paradise Beach in Sanyang. GT Board Director General Abdullah Haidara welcomed the visiting anglers and highlighted the advance of an event he described as the novel product, putting tourism on a high pedestal. 20 anglers are lined up for what is expected to be stark contention between local fisherfolk and sport fishermen from the United Kingdom. Previous angling events have been mostly clinched by locals, a feat that has seen Gambian Mark Goddard sealing several victories since the beginning of this exciting competition. Amidst a new contest, the local point angler told GRTS he is more than ready for another challenge with international fisherfolk.
I was fortunate not to have so much weed, and for that reason I came first yesterday.
His local adversary is Green Mamba's Tony Tabal. The expert target angler is already on National Geographic's list of the best sport fishermen in Africa. But even for the celebrated angler, the electrifying Mark Goddard poses a rather difficult match. The competition kicks off the following day at the lost waters of the Combo South in Sambuya.
Thoroughly enjoyable, quite windy today and difficult to fish.
The first day was somehow fruitful, but anglers would not be as lucky on the second day, with a rough sea and windy weather denying them any catch. For British record angler Chris Stringer, this is common but not so unusual.
I don't know. I think it's rather windy and extremely rough, so it's proving very difficult. I think now out of 20 anglers, only 1 fish has been caught so far.
The Smiling Coast is an angler's paradise with fish breeds that come in a great variety and striking uplands that makes the Gambia one of the finest locations for fish trawling. Officials understand this and are currently moving to promote sport fishing as a key product to attract high-end tourism. Ibrahim Jatta, GRTS.
And from sports fishing to some serious matter at sea, Gambia Ports Authority and the Gambian Navy have embarked on a day patrol to the different fishing centers across the country's coastline. The aim of the exercise is to better sensitize fishermen to avoid using boats stationed at different locations across the River Gambia. This comes after one of the boats was damaged. Famara Kanyi went with the patrol team and he now tells us more.
This is the second time in 2 years a buoy is damaged. Ports officials put the blame on fishermen who uses the buoys as mooring facilities for their fishing boats. Captain Kule Mane is the harbour master of the Gambia Ports Authority.
Vandalizing these buoys cost us a lot of money because each of these buoys, especially this particular buoy, will cost close to $1 million. Imagine it was purchased and laid about 1 year ago. Within 1 year, $1 million is damaged.
I will extend my appeal to the fishing community to be complying with these regulations and ensure that these buoys are protected for national interests.
He and his team are concerned about the lifespan of the other buoys if the attitude of fishermen towards them should continue. This naval team is tasked to patrol our territorial waters to reduce the risks of marine insecurity.
When we go out at sea, conduct patrols, we also observe, we keep an eye on these buoys. So when we see people vandalizing these buoys, we arrest them, hand them over to the police and make sure they are dealt with accordingly.
The buoys are aids to navigation, which helps ships and large vessels a smooth sail into the Banjul ports.
The practice of using the buoys, which are positioned in strategic locations across the River Gambia, is a violation of the Gambia Ports Authorities Act of 1972. Fishermen found guilty of such a crime may face a 9-month imprisonment with a fine of $500 and a repair to the damaged buoys. Reporting for GRCS News, I am Famara Kanyi.
Moving on, fire incidences have made the news headlines in recent weeks. Victims often lose their life work in such disasters, and in the case of one family in Lamin village, it was particularly different when their 2-year-old boy died in a fire outbreak. Well, Aminata is signing visited and she filed on this report, but be warned, some images may be disturbing.
Fire incidents have been making headlines recently. But the one that destroyed the Kijera household in Lamin was fatal.
The fire ignited the whole building around 9 a.m. in the morning, caused by the misconduct of electricity. The family were able to escape, except a 2-year-old boy, Lamin Kijera, whose life was taken by the fire.
Eyewitness reports say little Kemba was in the room before his mother left for the market, when heavy smoke and fire was detected from the building.
Unfortunately, once we started, the ladies were just shouting, fire, fire, and then we concentrated on the dice section. So after putting efforts there, so we realized that later, then there was a kid inside.
The fire quickly engulfed the whole building before the 2-year-old boy could be rescued. Our Kijera said cries of help were heard by the little boy, but any attempt to rescue him was beaten back by the intense blaze. When rescue crews entered the destroyed building, they found little Lamin Kijera leaning on the wall near his mom's bed. Shortage of water was one issue which deterred these people from reducing the inferno before the fire service arrived. Personnel of the fire and rescue services were deployed to the scene, and they were joined by volunteers who helped in putting out the blaze.
I felt very sad because this is one of the greatest damage I've ever lived to witness as far as this area is concerned. It's a big shock and it's just unavoidable. I wish it doesn't have happened, but then it's very sad that it has already taken place.
The PRO of Fire Service, Mohammed Drame, also spoke of the challenges they encounter during fire incidents.
People do blame the fire service, like say, we don't come in time. But what happens is, when fires occur, because we don't have early warning systems in the Gambia, you only realize a fire when it is out of control. So, and when you see it as a neighbor or somebody occupying the place, you will not like to, do anything. You will try to put it off first. So if you see that you cannot at all, then you try to struggle to call the fire service. And in doing so, sometimes it takes a lot of minutes before you reach the fire service.
The cause of the fire incident will be felt in this household for a very long time. Reporting for GRTS News, I am
family of the victim. And now, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency has donated food items to dozens of victims of the January-February political impasse in Banjul. And in the Kanifing municipality, Louis Mendy reports the NGO is expected to do similar gesture to other communities across the country.
In January, when Yahya Jammeh lost the presidential election to the ruling coalition party and refused to step down, the nation was in chaos. In thousands, people fled to neighboring Senegal and beyond for safety. Many businesses were closed and prices of food items skyrocketed. The National Disaster Management Agency said in Banjul, Yande Jallo, with a family of 15, is one of those who struggled to put food on the table during the difficult moment. The husband is not living with them.
Of course, yes. It was so difficult.
On Thursday, Jallo and other family heads in the capital city and in the Kanifing municipality received each a bag of rice, plus cooking oil, beans, sugar, and salt. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency is the NGO which donated the items to the needy.
In my own father's house, a building that was taken between 15 and 20 people who were living in those houses around that time were more than 200 persons.
I live at Bakote, Bohol. It was terrible during the political impact. I have my wife and 8 kids. I have a carpentry workshop as well. I'm feeding those people on lunch and breakfast.
This is the first batch of beneficiaries of the ADRA NGO gifts. A similar package is set for distribution to 200 families in different regions across the country, targeting women-headed households.
We want to give advantage first to women-headed households because we know that in any situations, they are more disadvantaged than the rest of the households.
ADRA Gambia is improving food security, health, and education on the home front.
I want to thank our donors from ADRA Netherlands. They've been very, very, very supportive. ADRA Gambia is in 135 countries, but ADRA Netherlands have been one of our main sponsors in different projects.
It's a very good feeling to come every time to the Gambia to help the poor people.
Sirfo Sawane said the food items will do him and family some good. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
Well, that report by Louis Mendy takes us to a first break. When we return, we'll take a look at sports, then go away.
Top deals, low prices, high quality. This is a type.
What, that's all?
No, in all sizes.
Okay.
In dozens of shapes.
I want more.
Easy, hundreds of colors.
Even more.
Okay, hundreds of patterns.
For everything.
Yes, everything. Kitchen, bathroom, interiors, for the entire home.
And the price?
It's on sale with Batimat's quality guarantee. Batimat tiles, top deals, exceptional sales, low prices, and Batimat quality.
Welcome back, and now to sports. Junior athletes from more than 100 secondary schools are competing for the 2017 Inter-School Athletics Championship at the Independence Stadium. Day one of the competition saw Bottrop and Mahad Senior Secondary Schools pulled off some stunning successes in both the track and field events. Almot Lamin Sane was watching and he prepared this report.
The stadium was in lively mood as hundreds of students filled the stands to watch the opening day of the Inter-Secondary Schools Athletics Championship. The race produced some top performance from student athletes.
I'm feeling glad to have first position. I am the one who opened
the stadium today. I started and get first. Very glad. You see, we do follow me. So we are ready for them to follow us. They are here to follow us. We are not here to follow them, you know.
102 schools are taking part in this 3-day event. They came from all regions of the country.
I was preparing for this for a month. I was running at boat rope, so I came with first. I told my people that when I come here, I will take first. They said no, they don't believe. I said I will do it so that you people can know that yes, I can do it or not.
Competitions ranges from tracks and field events with traditional games such as boat rope senior secondary and newcomers Mahat senior secondary leading the ways in the opening rounds of the competition.
We are coming for the trophy again, and then inshallah we must take it back to Birkama. The trophy belongs to West Coast, and we must take it there. We are ready so that we can be in the first 2 or first 3, because we know that this year we don't have both qualifiers. So obviously I cannot say that we are going to take first. So obviously we are just thanking God that I'm having first position. Let my guys also do something so that we can be in the first 2 or first 3.
Action was not limited on the tracks, as supporters made a lively presence on the stands. Competition for the top prize continues today and Sunday, when the final will be held. For GRTS Sports, this is Modlamin Sane.
Well, from sports, we'll now shift our attention to the international scene. The United Nations Children's Agency has scaled up its support plan for children suffering from malnutrition in Nigeria's northeast by 400%. Their agency has now increased its aid capacity to 48,000 children in its malnutrition treatment facilities across the northeast, while CGTN's Kalechi Emekalam has more in this report.
Emergency humanitarian assistance is not provided. UNICEF had only 12,000 children on its emergency malnutrition treatment plan, but says a drastic scale-up has become inevitable.
We have an estimated 450,000 children who will suffer from severe acute malnutrition this year. Our target to reach them is a little over 300,000. Realistically, over the past year, as we've scaled up our interventions, we've treated about 170,000 children so far. So we continue to scale up.
The 7-year insurgency has left a major humanitarian crisis. The UN describes it as the worst in Africa. Now Nigeria, South Sudan and Somalia are 3 of African countries grappling with famine, and children are the most affected.
Here in northeast Nigeria, we've seen time and again that we're just managing to hold off famine, but without sustained international humanitarian assistance and without, in fact, increased humanitarian assistance, we are looking at disaster.
Nigerian military and its regional allies have lately registered some successes against Boko Haram. The insurgents have been driven out of most territories they previously controlled, but they've left behind an unfolding humanitarian crisis. The UN estimates the number of those in need of emergency relief could hit 10 million people. Most of them have been cut away from their sources of livelihood. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
The American Somali community has welcomed the federal court suspension of the Trump administration's travel ban on some Muslim-majority countries. The American city of Minneapolis is home to the largest number of Somalis in the United States. But as we're here in this report, with the failure of the travel ban still uncertain, the country's stay is still under threat.
The travel ban may be on hold, but some in Minneapolis want to make that pause permanent. Thousands of Somalis have made the United States their home. Now the city is trying to protect that freedom.
When you Google Somalis, you tend to see a lot of negative things, and you don't see a lot of great stuff that's going on.
Mohammed Farah runs Karjuk, a non-profit organization that helps at-risk Somali children. He's seeing the effect the new administration is having on this new generation.
It impacts them in so many ways. It tells them that the president does not want them here in the United States, that they're not as American as he is, that they're not Americans and they don't belong to this nation. But the fact of the matter is they do belong to this nation. They are Americans. They are contributing to this nation as much as he is.
As many as 100,000 Somalis are believed to live in Minneapolis, the largest community in the US. Here, iconic America meets East African culture. But that's sometimes an uneasy mix.
Major concerns in the Somali community over a terror recruitment video that was released by Al-Shabaab.
8 people were stabbed at a mall in St. Cloud, Minnesota last night.
Everybody's reading about the disaster taking place in Minnesota, with large numbers of Somali refugees coming into your state, and with some of them then joining ISIS.
Somali Americans in the state have been charged with terrorist links. But Muslim organizations that work to prevent young men from becoming radicalized say that does not accurately represent the whole community.
The stigma of Somalis having somewhat being a threat to America, Muslims in general being a threat to America, is really the undertones of this policy, which it continues to stigmatize American Muslims and frame them to be a threat to
America. Here are proud of where they come from. They now want the rest of America to feel the same. With the travel ban suspended, the Somalis of Minneapolis can continue to travel freely. But that may not always be the case. The Trump administration seems determined to pursue this plan. They say they want to enforce it, and to do that, they may take it all the way to the Supreme Court. Nick Harper, CGTN, Minneapolis.
Well, from that report, a quick recap of our headline-making stories once again. President Barrow has urged Gambians in Europe to take an active role in the country's development process. Anglers from the Gambia and Europe are taking part in the 4th edition of the beach casting. Some of the country's future sprinters have descended on the Independence Stadium for the annual Inter-Secondary School Athletics Championship. And the United Nations Children's Agency has said it will scale up support for children suffering from malnutrition in Nigeria. Well, that's all in this edition of the News at 10. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. I am Fatih Janimbai, and thank you for joining us.
GRTS.